Welcome to the deep dive. Today, well, we're stepping into the world of acting.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you felt that pull towards the stage or a screen even, but then,
Yeah.
well, that doubt creeps in.
Yeah, the am I good enough feeling.
Exactly. Like, am I
Mm.
too awkward, too anxious? Do I actually have what it takes? So, we gathered a bunch of sources to really get into this.
We did. We've got this really relatable Reddit thread, actually, someone just sharing those exact feelings.
Oh, okay.
And then we layered on some articles, stuff on improv, how to break down script, practical tools.
Useful stuff.
Yeah, and also pieces looking at, is acting talent or skill? Voice training, warm-ups, and the importance of having your own practice.
Okay, so our mission here really is to dig through all that and pull out some solid takeaways. Maybe some encouragement, too.
Definitely.
If you're listening and you felt like that person on Reddit, maybe a bit lost, we want to offer some clarity, maybe some, actual steps.
Let's do it. So that Reddit post, the user felt they wanted to act for years, but yeah, held back by feeling awkward, anxious, and just not belonging. And even family members chimed in saying, how can you act if you're not confident? Ouch.
Yeah, that's tough. It's such a common fear, though, isn't it? That judgment before you even start.
Totally.
But what was great in the thread were these really direct replies, like people just saying, just try an acting class. Simple as that.
Right. Sometimes just taking that first leap is the hardest part, but the most important.
Yeah.
And someone made a really interesting point that for introverts, acting can actually be freeing.
How so?
Well, it lets you step into someone else's shoes.
Hey,
You might actually feel more comfortable expressing yourself as a character than as yourself sometimes.
that flips the script a bit, doesn't it? That idea you have to be this big extrovert.
Exactly. And someone else shared they were terrified at first, but once they actually did the class, it wasn't nearly as bad as they'd imagine.
Knowing others felt that way helps, I think. Like, you're not alone in being nervous.
And practical advice, too, start small, just one class. Don't jump into a full-time acting school right away.
Lower stakes.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And this other idea popped up that a good acting class can almost feel like group therapy for social anxiety,
Huh.
like a supportive space.
Exactly. Everyone's kind of vulnerable together, supporting each other.
I like that. And it counters that family comment about needing confidence first.
Right. Because someone else pointed out, doing classes, being in shows, that's what builds the confidence.
It comes from the doing.
Yes. You don't walk in fully formed. And even a pro actor commented they still get nervous.
Wow, okay. So nervousness is normal, not a deal breaker.
Not at all. And someone else said, a lot of actors maybe felt like outsiders before they started performing.
So acting became their place.
Maybe, yeah. And another really nice piece of advice was, don't just think about it as a career goal right off the bat.
Do it because you enjoy it, because you meet cool people. Take the pressure off.
That feels healthier.
It does.
Yeah,
But, people were realistic too. They acknowledged it's a tough industry.
sure, they got to be honest about that.
But still, the main vibe was go explore it if you feel the pull.
Okay, so that first step seems clear. Try a class. But were there other ideas for, dipping a toe in?
Yeah, definitely. Someone suggested background work, being an extra on a film set.
Low-pressure way to see how it all works.
Exactly. Just observe, get the feel of it. And also, really practical advice on picking a class. Check reviews, see what resonates. And a big warning. Be wary of schools promising you gigs. That's usually a red flag.
Good tip. And what if you can't easily get to a class in person?
Online classes, someone mentioned those are way more accessible now, too. A great starting point for many.
Okay. Options are good.
And then there was this really great story about improv classes. Someone shared how they forced themselves to volunteer for exercises, even when terrified, and how quickly that fear started to fade just by doing it. It really showed how taking action fights the anxiety.
That's powerful, just pushing through that initial discomfort.
Yeah.
And that links nicely to, developing the actual skills.
Yeah.
Right? Because improv is definitely a skill.
Which brings up that classic question. Is acting a skill you learn or just raw talent?
Ah, yes, the talent versus skill debate.
Yeah.
What did the source say?
Basically, it's both. You might have a natural knack, sure, but real acting comes from learning, practice, developing specific skills.
So practice matters
Right.
a lot.
Hugely. The article even argued that someone maybe less naturally talented but who works really hard can actually become better than someone just coasting on talent.
I like that. That means it's not just some magical thing you either have or don't. you can work at it.
Absolutely. And it lists skills like technique, voice, movement, research, taking direction, all things you can actively get better at.
So if you're worried you don't have it, just showing up and practicing is actually a big deal. It's about development.
Exactly. And another piece really focused on the importance of having your own personal acting practice.
Like homework or
Sort of, but more like regular exercise for your acting muscles.
acting muscles, okay.
Yeah, things like concentration, connecting emotionally, physical control, vocal control. You got to keep flexing them.
That makes sense. Keep them strong.
And the article framed it less as building confidence and more as building faith in yourself.
Ooh, I like that distinction. Faith in yourself.
Yeah, it's not about being fearless, but trusting your preparation, trusting your skills, even if you still feel the nerves.
Because the nerves might always be there a little bit.
Probably. And interestingly, it suggested that those moments of fear, if you're honest with them, can actually make a performance better, more relatable.
Oh, okay. Turn the fear into fuel.
Kinda. And practically having that regular practice means you're ready for things like sudden auditions, you have skills to draw on.
Preparedness?
Mm-hmm. And it's also where you find your own style, your unique voice as an actor, experimenting in your own time.
Right, not just copying others.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some of these tools you can practice? Improv came up again.
Big time. An article specifically on improv techniques laid out why it's so crucial.
Let's hear it. What are the benefits?
Okay. Stretches imagination, frees your mind, boosts creativity, builds confidence, helps you handle the unexpected.
Okay, that's a lot already.
Improves listening, helps you connect with characters, respond honestly.
Right.
Yeah, it's like a total actor workout.
Sounds essential.
And the core principle, the foundation, is yes and.
Ah, I've heard of that. Accept and build.
Exactly. It's all about collaboration, accepting what your partner gives you and adding to it. Keep the scene alive.
Makes sense. What else for improv?
Lots of things like working with imaginary objects, focusing on emotion, finding common ground, avoiding judging ideas, really listening.
Active listening. Crucial.
Yeah, paying attention to body language, staying present, creating conflict sometimes, and even embracing mistakes as opportunities. It's a whole mindset.
Okay, that's a rich area. What about working with an actual script?
Right. Script analysis. Another resource stressed doing this from the actor's point of view.
Meaning?
Not just reading the words, digging deep. What does my character want? What's stopping them? What's at stake? What tactics do they use?
So the subtext, the why behind the lines.
Precisely. Understanding the driving forces.
Got it. And then there's the voice itself.
Voice.
Yeah.
Voice and speech training. An article highlighted this isn't just for musical theater folks.
Right, for everyone.
It's about healthy vocal control, expanding your range, versatility, developing character voices, accents, and just basic clarity. Can people understand you?
Super important. Any tips there?
Yeah, practical things like tongue twisters, working on vowel sounds, treating your voice like an instrument that needs warming up and care.
Like red Lori, yellow Lori.
Exactly. They actually train the muscles for clear speech. Seems
Oh.
silly, but it works.
Okay. Which leads nicely to warm-ups in general.
Mm-hmm. A resource had a whole collection of theater warm-ups for physical and vocal expression.
Like what?
Things like facial stretches, making a tight lemon face, then a big lion face. Releases tension. Deep breathing. Exercises for your tongue and lips, more tongue twisters like red wristwatch or unique New York.
Classics.
Yeah, and physical stuff like a full body shake to loosen up. Even creative things like making up animal names for the letters in your name.
Fun.
And mirroring exercises, partnering up, copying movements, great for focus and observation.
So a whole routine to get ready physically and vocally.
Yep. So, we've covered a lot of ground, but let's circle back to that Reddit user.
Right, who still felt awkward and wasn't sure if acting was right, even after thinking about it.
Exactly. And it's important to acknowledge those feelings might stick around for a bit. It's not always an overnight fix.
Sure.
But again, the thread had a counterpoint. Someone pointed out that many actors are shy or awkward in real life, but they just come alive when performing.
So your offstage personality isn't the whole story.
Not necessarily. It's about finding that connection on stage or screen. And another commenter, while being realistic about the industry's challenges and, prioritizing mental health.
Which is important.
Very. They made the point that you often need a real, burning desire to push through the difficulties in acting. It's competitive.
Yeah, I really want it.
Pretty much. They suggested really thinking about why you feel intimidated. Is it something you can work through? So, yeah, we've talked about taking action, but what are you actually building when you start acting? Let's look at that skill versus talent idea again.
Right. But the big takeaway tying all this together seems to be start small, practice consistently, focus on your own growth. Confidence isn't necessarily the starting point.
Couldn't have said it better. It's a journey.
Okay, so
Yeah.
wrapping this deep dive up for you listening,
Mm-hmm.
if you feel that acting bug but the doubts are loud,
Mm-hmm.
just try something. A class,
Yeah.
background work, whatever feels manageable.
Mm-hmm. Embrace that it's a learning curve. Acting is skill as much as, maybe even more than, innate talent. You can develop it.
Make practice part of your routine. Try improv, look at scripts differently, warm up your voice and body.
And remember, building that faith in yourself comes from the work you put in. It's okay to feel awkward or nervous. Lots of people do. It's about managing it.
Yeah, totally normal.
Absolutely.
So here's a final thought to chew on. What if that awkwardness, that anxiety you feel, what if that's actually your strength?
How do you mean?
What if those feelings could actually fuel really authentic, relatable performances? What if vulnerability isn't a weakness here, but a source of connection?
Interesting. Viewing it as potential, not a barrier.
Exactly. Maybe those challenges are where your unique voice lies.
So maybe the next step is just looking up a local class,
Hmm.
checking out an online option. You really might surprise yourself.